Picture this. You've decided you need to learn a new language.
Oh, yeah. Always a massive undertaking.
Right. I mean, maybe it's for a new job, or you're moving to a new city, or, you just want to challenge yourself.
Yeah, it's a great goal, but the reality is usually pretty harsh.
Exactly. Because the moment you start, you're just hit with this absolute wall of expectation. You imagine these massive textbooks and endless charts of verb conjugations.
Oh, the verb charts. They're the worst.
The worst. And just vocabulary lists that stretch on for miles. It feels incredibly overwhelming.
It really does.
It's like you're standing at the bottom of a massive mountain staring up at the peak and someone just hands you a pocket dictionary and...
Just wishes you good luck.
Right. But, well, what if fluency isn't about memorizing the entire dictionary? What if the secret is actually about mastering a tiny, highly specific set of tools that you need to just, survive your day?
That's a much better way to frame it.
So today, for our deep dive, we are looking at a specific curriculum excerpt from a program called Daily English Mastery, Conversations and Common Phrases.
Specifically, we're diving into day 5, right?
Yes, day 5, which tackles daily life and common conversations. Okay, let's unpack this, because our mission today isn't just to, read through a list of vocabulary.
Yeah, that would be incredibly boring for everyone.
Right. We are here to decode the underlying methodology that this document uses to teach a new language.
Because it's actually doing something really smart under the surface.
Exactly. We're looking at a curriculum engineered specifically for Hindi speakers who are learning English. And we really want to extract the underlying strategies of how the human brain retains and deploys new information under pressure.
Which is, it's a completely counterintuitive approach to traditional academics.
How do you mean?
Well, on the surface, the source material looks almost too simple. I mean, it presents itself as just a basic list of 10 sentences.
Yeah, it looks super basic at first glance.
But when you apply a psychological lens to it, you realize it isn't a random assortment of words at all. It is a highly structured blueprint.
Okay, a blueprint for what exactly?
It's designed to completely bypass the anxiety of learning and get the learner straight to functional utility.
Okay, I love that. So let's crack open this toolkit and see what those tools actually are.
Let's do it.
The text provides 10 specific English sentences for the learner, and it pairs each one directly with its exact native Hindi meaning, so they have that immediate anchor.
Right, they aren't guessing what the sentence means.
But the choice of these 10 sentences is really what caught my eye. Let's break them down a bit. First, we have what looks like a routine or action category.
Yeah, the foundational daily stuff.
Exactly. The text gives us phrases like, I woke up early today, then I need to finish my work. Next is, what time does the meeting start?
So practical.
Right. Followed by, I will call you later. And finally, I'm looking for my keys.
Now, notice the environment those sentences actually build for the learner. They are heavily grounded in the physical, everyday reality of a working adult. It just completely skips right over those classic textbook phrases.
Like, the apple is red or whatever.
Exactly. Or, the cat is on the table. It goes straight for the practical realities of navigating an office or, managing your time.
Which is what you actually need on a random Tuesday morning.
Spot on.
But then the text shifts gears into a second category. It moves into moments of vulnerability or needing assistance.
This is where it gets really clever.
Yeah, the text includes things like, can you help me, please? Then I don't understand this question.
Yeah.
And perhaps the most crucial one for literally any language learner.
Let me guess. Asking them to slow down.
Yes. Please speak a little slower.
What's fascinating here is the psychological safety that is deliberately built into these specific phrases.
How so? Like, why focus on safety?
Well, think about the emotional state of a beginner. When you are learning a new language, the cognitive load is immense.
Oh, it's exhausting.
Right. You constantly feel like you are falling behind in the conversation. You're just scrambling to translate in your head while the other person is, still talking.
Yeah, and you start to panic.
Exactly. By arming the learner with phrases like, please speak a little slower, or I don't understand this question, the curriculum prioritizes functional survival over rigid grammar.
It's basically giving them a ripcord to pull when things go wrong.
Exactly that. It acknowledges that the learner is going to fail, they are going to panic, and it gives them the exact tools to handle that vulnerability gracefully.
That makes so much sense.
It doesn't teach them how to conjugate the verb to understand in 12 different tenses. It just simply hands them the phrase, I don't understand this question, as a complete, ready-to-use unit.
And rounding out the list, the text actually provides a third category, focusing on reassurance and gratitude.
Oh, right, the positive ones.
Yeah, the learner is taught to say, everything will be okay, and thank you for your support.
Both very powerful phrases.
Totally. When I look at the complete list of these 10 sentences, it honestly feels like a Swiss Army knife for a workday.
I like that analogy, a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah. Think about a Swiss Army knife. You don't pull it out to frame a house or build a skyscraper.
No, of course not.
You carry it in your pocket because it has the precise tool you need when a sudden, highly specific problem pops up.
You need a screwdriver. Bam. Tweezers. Bam.
Right. You lost something. Bam. I'm looking for my keys. The meeting is moving too fast. Please speak a little slower.
It's all about immediate utility.
Exactly. These aren't just random vocabulary words to be memorized for some written test. They are literal survival tools.
But having a tool in your pocket doesn't mean you know how to actually use it under pressure.
That is very true.
And that is where the architecture of the curriculum gets really interesting. Because knowing a phrase and deploying it in a social setting, those are two entirely different cognitive processes.
Which perfectly brings us to the next phase of day 5. The curriculum forces the learner out of isolation and into actual application.
Right, taking the tools out of the box.
Yeah. It moves from these isolated parts to full contextual use through a vocabulary section, which is then followed immediately by a practice conversation.
How does it set that up?
Well, the text first isolates specific anchor words from those sentences we just discussed. Words like wake up, finish, help, understand, question, slower, meeting, looking for, everything, and support.
Okay, so breaking it down into smaller chunks.
Right, but instead of just leaving them as a sterile list, it immediately drops them into a scripted dialogue between two imaginary people, person A and person B.
Okay, and how does that dialogue actually play out?
It's very structured. Person A says, "Good morning, did you wake up early today?" Person B replies, "Yes, I woke up at 6 o'clock."
Very natural, simple back and forth.
Right. Then person A shifts the topic and says, "Can you help me with this question?" Person B says, "Of course, I'll help you."
Nice.
Finally, person A closes with, "Thank you for your support." And person B says, "You're welcome." Now, hold on. I need to question this approach for a second.
Go for it.
Is it really effective to just memorize a pre-written robotic script between person A and person B? Doesn't that just completely freeze you up the second a real person goes off script in the real world?
I completely see why you'd ask that. It seems limiting.
Yeah, it feels a bit like you're just parroting lines in a school play.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, though, what we are observing is a classic example of pedagogical scaffolding.
Scaffolding, like on a building.
Exactly. Let's build on your Swiss Army knife idea. Before you can whittle a complex, beautiful sculpture, you need to know how to safely open the blade without, cutting your finger.
Okay, fair point.
Think about how scaffolding works on a physical construction site. The scaffold isn't the building itself.
No, it's just the metal bars around it.
Right. It is the temporary, rigid, highly controlled structure that allows the workers to safely build the actual permanent architecture inside. The curriculum is doing the exact same thing with language.
I see. So breaking it down to the absolute smallest units, the isolated vocabulary words, that's the foundation.
Yes. Then it builds those units into single functional sentences. And then finally, it strings those sentences into a simulated social interaction between person A and person B.
It creates a safe, predictable sandbox for the learner.
Precisely. A real conversation will absolutely be messier and way less predictable than person A and person B.
Oh, for sure. Real life never follows the script.
But before a learner can handle the messy unpredictability of the real world, they need to feel what it is physically and mentally like to successfully complete a conversational transaction.
They need the muscle memory, essentially.
Exactly. The muscle memory of asking for help and actually receiving it. The script gives them a guaranteed win.
So it's not meant to be the final product at all. It's the training wheels. You have to learn the basic scales before you can, improvise jazz.
That is the perfect way to look at it. Once that foundational scaffolding is secure, the learner has the confidence to start improvising.
Which makes sense.
But the curriculum doesn't just leave them in that comfortable sandbox forever.
No, it definitely doesn't. Once those training wheels are on, the text actively starts testing the limits to ensure the material is actually sticking.
Right. Pushing them to the next level.
It moves the learner from passive absorption into active performance. First, it introduces a pronunciation practice section, highlighting 5 of our original phrases for targeted verbal practice out loud.
Okay, so engaging the physical voice.
Right, it zeroes in on, I woke up early today. Can you help me, please? Please speak a little slower. Everything will be okay, and thank you for your support.
It literally forces the physical mouth movements to align with the mental comprehension.
Exactly. But the real friction, I mean, real friction happens in the next section.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
Here's where it gets really interesting. There is a section simply titled Challenge, and it completely flips the dynamic.
Takes away the crutches.
It really does. Up until this point, the text has been presenting the English first, followed by the native meaning. But here, the learner is confronted with only their native language.
So just the Hindi concepts.
Right, just the Hindi. They are given the native concepts for phrases like, I'm looking for my keys, I need to finish my work, please speak a little slower, I will call you later, and everything will be okay.
So they have to work backwards.
Yes. The text forces the learner to start with the concept in their native tongue and somehow generate the correct English sentence to match it.
Which is a massive shift in cognitive demand. I mean, it is the crucial difference between recognition and active recall.
Can you break that down a bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
When you look at an English sentence and see the translation right next to it, your brain says, ah, yes, I recognize that.
It feels easy.
Right, because recognition is a relatively passive process. But going the other direction, from native thought to foreign output, is incredibly demanding.
Especially considering the structural differences between languages.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking about a curriculum designed for Hindi speakers learning English. And even without getting into the specific foreign words, just think about the structural mechanics for a second.
It's a completely different architecture.
Yeah. English is a subject-verb-object language, like I am looking for my keys. But Eastern and Indic languages, like Hindi, often use a subject-object-verb structure.
Right, the action comes at the very end of the sentence.
Exactly. Which means to translate a thought from their native structure into English, the learner cannot just swap out words one for one.
Now, that would sound like gibberish.
Right. They have to hold the entire concept in their working memory, completely dismantle the architecture of the sentence, move the verb from the end to the middle, and then translate the vocabulary.
That requires an immense amount of cognitive friction.
It's like the difference between recognizing a song on the radio and just, nodding along, versus sitting down at a piano with blank sheet music and trying to play the melody entirely from memory.
That is a brilliant comparison. By forcing the learner to recall how to say, I'm looking for my keys from scratch, starting from their native syntax, the text is intentionally creating a struggle.
A good struggle, right?
Exactly. Neuroscientifically speaking, that struggle is exactly where learning happens. That effortful retrieval is what physically forges new active neural pathways in the brain.
So if you don't struggle, you aren't really learning.
Basically, yeah. If you only ever practice recognition, you might become great at reading English, but you will completely freeze when you open your mouth to actually speak it. Active recall is the bridge to actual fluency.
It forces you to do the heavy lifting yourself.
It really does.
Which naturally leads us to the final and perhaps most revealing part of this entire document. We are moving from the exercises themselves to the ultimate tip of the day.
Ah, yes. The daily routine.
The text reveals the prescribed behavioral routine to guarantee this heavy lifting actually works. It's basically a master blueprint for memory.
And this is where we separate those who successfully acquire a language from those who just, give up.
The habit part.
Right. The behavioral aspect is paramount. It rarely comes down to natural intelligence. It almost always comes down to the system you actually use.
And the system outlined in this tip of the day is incredibly specific. It is a 5-step repetition process called the 5X rule.
5 steps for every single phrase.
Yep. The text dictates that the learner must do this for every single sentence they want to learn. Let me read you the exact 5 steps.
Let's hear them.
Step 1, read it aloud. Step 2, read it without looking. Step 3, speak it naturally. Step 4, use it in a new situation. And step 5, repeat before going to bed.
It's a very deliberate progression.
And the text makes a pretty bold promise here. It says doing this every day will help you start speaking English more confidently within a few months.
It is a bold promise, but the methodology backing it up is surprisingly robust. Each step targets a very different cognitive function.
So what does this all mean for you listening? When I was looking at these 5 steps, I immediately thought of it like a daily workout routine for the brain.
A mental workout.
Yeah, it's exactly like practicing a complex physical movement, like, say, a tennis serve. Think about it. Step 1, read it aloud, is just getting a feel for the racket in your hand.
Right, nice and slow.
You are saying the words slowly just so your motor cortex gets used to the physical shapes your mouth needs to make.
You're building the basic biomechanics of the language.
Then step 2, read it without looking, is like trying to toss the ball up and hit it with your eyes closed.
Testing the system.
Exactly. You are testing your immediate, short-term muscle memory. You are proving to yourself that the concept is in there, even for just a few seconds.
And step 3, speak it naturally, is where prosody comes in. You aren't just reciting words anymore. You're trying to hit that serve with real fluidity and rhythm.
You want to sound like human.
Right, you are finding the melody of the sentence so it sounds natural, not robotic.
Step 4, use it in a new situation, is huge. That's stepping out of the practice court and actually trying to use that serve in a real match against a live opponent.
Taking it out of the textbook.
Yeah, taking the phrase, "Can you help me please?" out of the classroom and using it at a coffee shop or like in a Zoom meeting.
That step is all about generalization. Taking a skill learned in a completely sterile environment and applying it to a chaotic one.
It's the ultimate test.
But it is that 5th step that truly fascinates me.
Step 5, repeat before going to bed. Yeah, why before bed specifically?
It's a great question.
If repetition is the key, why not just repeat it 5 times rapidly in the morning while you drink your coffee?
This raises an important question about the sheer power of our biology and how it constantly interacts with learning.
Okay, get into the science of it.
Well, the tennis analogy is fantastic for the physical and mental execution, but step 5 is about cellular storage. It all comes down to how memory consolidation actually works.
Memory consolidation.
Right. When you learn something new during the day, whether it's the motion of a tennis serve or a vulnerable phrase like, "Please speak a little slower," that information is temporarily stored in a part of your brain called the hippocampus.
Like a temporary holding folder on your computer desktop?
Precisely. It's just sitting there on the desktop. And that folder is very fragile. Throughout the day, it gets cluttered with everything else you experience.
Like what you ate for lunch or a random email?
Exactly. An email you read, a song you heard on the radio. If you don't save the file properly, it just gets overwritten or forgotten.
Which happens to me all the time.
But when you go to sleep, your brain doesn't just shut down. During specific stages of sleep, particularly slow wave and REM sleep, your brain actively replays the events of the day.
Oh, wow. So it's doing the work while you sleep.
Yes. It physically transfers important information from the short-term storage of the hippocampus to the long-term permanent storage of the neocortex.
So by deliberately repeating these specific English sentences right before you fall asleep, you are basically hacking that biological process.
You are weaponizing your own sleep cycle. By putting those phrases into your mind right before the transfer process begins, you are essentially tagging them with a high-priority marker.
That is wild.
You are explicitly telling your brain, "Do not discard this in the nightly cleanup. Cement this into my long-term memory tonight."
It's like putting a VIP badge on the specific sentences.
The text profoundly understands that acquiring a language is not an event that happens while you stare at a book. It is a biological process that happens while you sleep.
And this 5-step rule respects that entire pipeline.
Exactly.
It guides the learner from the initial physical awkwardness of reading a foreign word aloud all the way through to the subconscious consolidation of that word during REM sleep.
It's incredibly elegant.
That is incredible. It really changes how you look at what initially seemed like just a basic one-page document.
It's way more than a vocabulary list.
To bring this all together for you listening, day 5 of this curriculum isn't just a simple quiz. It isn't just about learning how to say, "I woke up early today," or "everything will be okay."
No, not at all.
When we peel back the layers, we see a masterclass in breaking down an incredibly intimidating mountain into functional, bite-sized daily habits.
It uses psychological safety nets to lower the learner's anxiety so they don't just quit on day 1.
Right, it gives them the ripcord.
It uses pedagogical scaffolding to build their confidence in a controlled, safe environment. It forces active recall against their native syntax to forge durable neural pathways.
The heavy lifting.
And finally, it utilizes a highly specific 5-step repetition cycle to hack the brain's memory consolidation process. It's practically an engineering manual for human learning.
But you know, it does leave us with one massive lingering challenge, doesn't it? Step 4 of that master blueprint.
Yes. Step 4, the instruction to use it in a new situation.
We've explored the safety of the scaffolding, right? And we've talked about the biological comfort of repeating the script safely before bed. But taking that final step is an entirely different beast.
It is the hardest leap. How does a learner actually bridge that terrifying gap between private rehearsal in their bedroom and public execution in the real world?
Exactly. Having the courage to deploy a practice phrase spontaneously when the unexpected happens.
When the other person doesn't follow the person A and person B script, yeah.
Right. That is a monumental psychological hurdle.
It really is. It forces you to wonder, at what exact moment does a rehearsed line practiced over and over in the mirror finally stop being a script and actually become your own authentic voice?